Hello, and welcome to Financials Podcast Future Rich. I'm your host, Barbara Ginty, and I'm also a CFP, which is a certified financial planner. And I am here with my guest today, Sandy. Hi, Sandy.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So, okay, let's dive into it. So I have a spreadsheet here. As we all know, I love a good spreadsheet. And I know you're based in the city, New York.
Yes, NYC in Brooklyn.
Very nice. And then the one thing I don't, how old are you?
Oh, I am 35.
35. Okay, perfect. You are single. You were working as a systems admin at a tech company.
Yes.
And you just got a massive raise.
Yes, nearly 30%. And that just went into effect a couple paychecks ago.
Amazing. So we know what you're taking home, which is great. So you're making now your salary is $310,000.
Correct.
That's amazing.
Yes. I am so excited.
Okay, so tell our listeners, how did you get a 30% raise? Because we talk about that often, about advocating for yourself.
Absolutely. So I wish this was a better story about advocacy, but actually it was really thanks to my manager. So I was already, I consider, well compensated. I work in tech in a fairly niche role. And then my manager advocated to essentially have our team's roles reclassified to reflect how technical the role is. So that's what helped us get big increases this past review cycle.
That's amazing. So who you work for is also important.
Absolutely.
I've always thought that too. You have to advocate for yourself, but you also have to make sure your manager is going to help with that process, depending on how political or how to navigate the, inner workings of a company. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so as we know, the city is a high cost of living, and so your rent is incredibly reasonable.
It's funny. I guess for what I take home, it is percentage-wise. It still hurts, I think, when I look at the amount. So right now I pay $33.50 plus, of course, the $3 transaction fee per month. So it's $33.50, which again, percentage-wise is not unreasonable by any means, but I think just seeing that number will always hurt a little bit.
If it makes you feel better, I've seen people in New York City give numbers like 6,000.
Honestly, that does make me feel better. Thank you.
Yeah. So, but I see, because you're always like, when I think about it, you're working in the city, you have access to higher paying jobs, right? And so then your cost of living is you get paid, you can be, not everyone is paid more in a high cost of living city, and then it nets out. So relative to what you're bringing home, and even before you got the raise, $3,300 is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
And are you living alone?
I do live alone. Well, it's me and my dog, so she doesn't pay rent though.
Perfect. Okay, great. And so your new take home now with this raise is $25,000?
Yes.
So monthly, and then you give me the breakdown of your Social Security, Medicare, federal withholding, New York State, New York City, paid family medical leave. Everyone takes a chunk, right?
Yes.
So then your total taxes come to just a little over $9,000. And so you are netting then, if we just give it rounded up and just say you're netting about $15,000 a month.
That sounds about right. It's a little bit tricky with the new raise just going into effect, trying to get some of those specific numbers from my paycheck because it's so recent, but it's probably a little bit more with all the taxes and whatnot beforehand. Just hard to... It's actually 27 paychecks for me this year. So it was a little bit tricky translating that to the monthly budget, but this is close enough.
Close enough for the purposes of this. Okay, perfect. And then you are doing also your 401k. You're doing, am I reading this right? You have the first 401k line item here is a pre-tax contribution?
Correct. So I am maxing out the pre-tax. Yeah. And then what I just recently set up with when that new raise went into effect was doing the mega backdoor Roth. So that's brand new for me. But I'm fortunate that my company offers that.
Yeah. So tech companies Not all, but you're more likely to have the availability. So for those listening, what the Mega Backdoor Roth is the option inside of your 401k plan to have an after tax contribution. So it's not pre tax, it's not Roth, it's after tax. And then have so I'm going to ask you this, an in plan Roth conversion. So is that how it's done with yours in plan?
Exactly.
Okay. And does it happen automatically?
Yes,
Oh,
fortunately.
that's amazing. Sometimes you have to submit a form to have them convert it. So it's just a seamless transaction. It goes in after tax and it doesn't get invested, and then it automatically converts to Roth and then is invested in the Roth next.
Correct. And the fact that it's
Right?
automatic was a big appeal because I was worried about the admin otherwise.
Yeah, because you have to set calendar reminders. And we've had people who've had the optionality to do it, but it's much more manual. So you put it into cash. Every 30 days, you submit your form. Once it moves to Roth, then it's invested. It is still worthwhile. And so the number so you're going to max out the 24,000 and change for the pre-tax. And then you're doing almost 3,000 in the after.
Yes, yes. And that does feel aggressive. It's funny now, like getting my paycheck, even with the raise, because I'm doing that so aggressively before I get my paycheck. I'm noticing it, but I'm feeling good about it. And then I
Okay, and
also,
that's a monthly
yeah,
number, right?
yes, that's monthly,
Okay.
not per
Okay.
paycheck. Correct.
Perfect. So I was like, otherwise we're gonna have a problem.
Yes.
Okay, so 29.25 is the after tax. You're doing that. So your number for the year should be about 35,000 going in.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, and then we're doing around 24,000 for the pre-tax. Okay. So, because there are dollar limits on what's available, I'll put you at 59,000 total. And then do you have a company match?
I do. So it's up to it's 4% up to a certain amount that
Threshold.
exceeds yes. So I
Okay,
think I've
perfect.
calculated it to just hit that total
So you're going
max.
to be at 72, because you have to be under 72,000 total dollars allowed in your 401k.
Correct. I think I've calculated that correctly.
Okay, perfect. Keep an eye on it closer to the end of the year. They should have parameters that stop you from over contributing, but it's because
Yes.
it sounds like a sophisticated plan. The fact that it's a seamless transaction, but never hurts to keep an eye on it, because if you over contribute it, you have to remediate it and then move money out and recharacterize. So
Good note.
good to keep an eye on it in November and just make sure it's working. But that's
Sounds
great.
good.
I love that. And so the reason for doing that is because you are not eligible to do a Roth IRA outside of work because of your compensation. But there are no limits for this strategy in your plan. But because you're highly comped, right, and you're paying, as we talked about, paying a lot in tax, it does make sense to reduce your taxable income when you have 3 taxes.
Yes.
And then but then still you get your tax break, which is helpful from a tax standpoint for you as a single filer. And then you're still having the optionality to max out a Roth by using your very sophisticated work benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that for you.
Yeah, it's great. And then I also they do like an up to 4% contribution, as I mentioned. So that's great as
pre-tax
well.
too.
Yes,
Yeah.
pre-tax. Yep.
And that's great. Okay, perfect. And so then this is like music to my ears. You also you do your HSA, which is wonderful. You have a traditional IRA. Walk me through this, because there's limits there. You
Yes.
technically can't do that.
Oh, okay.
You can do an IRA, but it's not going to be it's not deductible.
Okay. Yes. So many years ago, when I was really just starting out, it had been recommended to me by family to open a traditional IRA. And now I look back, and at that point, what I was earning, it probably would have made sense to open a Roth IRA instead. But I just kind of kept that going for years and years. So I've been contributing the max that I can to a traditional IRA for a good chunk of years now.
Okay, so I would probably turn that off.
Okay.
Here's why. You have high income and you have a workplace plan, which means you are not getting the deduction on it. There's no tax benefit for it. So it's going in after tax. So what you have is a mixed money IRA. So you need to be tracking from when you stop being eligible for the deduction, what's going in after tax,
Okay.
essentially. And it's growing tax deferred. So you have two different types of taxes in that IRA.
Okay. And so even though the 401k Roth
Mm-hmm.
is in 401k, it's still considered. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it doesn't have to do with how you're contributing in your 401k. It has to do with your individual income and the fact that you have a workplace retirement plan. Those are the two
Okay.
tricks.
Okay.
And so then because, and I can just double check the 2026 numbers. Let me get them pulled up. I do not have them memorized here. These are all our numbers for 26.
Oh my goodness.
Everyone can see this. There we go.
No wonder it's hard to keep track.
That's why it's hard to keep track. That's why people are like, what do you mean? And I'm like, every year I had an employee be like, I'm going to memorize this. I was like, please don't. It's only good for like 12 months and we don't get it till January. So you really only use it for 11. Then you don't need to memorize it. So basically what it comes down to is the deductibility. You can put money in it, no problem. It's just that it's not pre-tax. So you're not getting a tax break on it. So the money you're going in is non-deductible.
Okay.
Which is different than an after-tax contribution.
I see. Okay.
You max out at 91,000. You're like well over that. You've been over that for many, many years, I'm sure.
Okay.
So whoever holds your IRA should have a breakdown, but probably don't because they don't know your income. And so I'll take a shot in the dark and say you, as the shareholder, are responsible for tracking basis in this IRA.
Okay.
Which that's fun, right?
Of course.
That's great. Yeah, so whenever you went over essentially $81,000 in income, you were no longer allowed to deduct that. Have you do you do your own taxes? Have you been taking a deduction on it?
I don't do my own taxes. So I'm hoping I will put this in a star right now in my notes to go check.
Yeah. And so it's not that I just think you're better off keeping. So what I always like to do is keep money types the same.
Right.
So I like the traditional IRA is just like a traditional 401k. When you go to retirement, it's all taxable. It's really clean. It's easy to remember. Because what I will tell you working with predominantly retirees in my day to day is when you're 70, having to go back and try to remember what was deductible and what wasn't deductible, if you haven't been tracking it all along, or they haven't been, right? If the company who's holding this doesn't give you a breakdown,
right,
you won't have those records.
Of course. Okay.
Maybe you will, but I would say most people were like, we look for a breakdown, right, of like where your basis is. So the money going in is going in essentially after tax, right? Which and so then the growth of it is never paid. So this money comes back to you that you put in after tax. We'll say the 7,000 comes back tax free. You have to have the record keeping on that.
Okay.
And then the growth of that $7,000, compound this out 40 years, that's taxed.
Right.
So you have two types of taxation in one account.
I see. Okay.
So star that. My personal preference is there's no tax benefit except for the earnings on the account. Now, some people would argue with me. I would say because you're doing such a great job with the workplace plan, that's going to be very clean. It's going to be pre-tax and Roth. That's it. And the 401k provider is going to mark that on every statement for the entire time you participate. There will be no question if you ever leave your workplace, your provider, and you decide to roll that money, which you have 3 technical options on that, so you choose. But if that were your choice, you would roll the monies respectively. So you wouldn't want to roll your 401k into this IRA because unless you've been tracking that basis, you're going to have a basis issue.
Okay, that's really helpful because one of my questions was that I have a couple substantial 401ks from previous employers, and I read sometimes about rolling them into IRAs, and I wanted to understand if there was anything optimal other than rolling it into like my current 401k or anything like that.
Yeah.
So this is incredibly valuable.
This IRA that you have where we have mixed money or mixed taxation, do not roll anything into there.
Okay.
Because you're going to take accounts that are very clearly delineated on tax structure and you're going to throw it into an account that you might not have any idea what's happening.
Okay.
I heard someone describe it one time as, and maybe I'm wrong, like maybe you pull your statement and it says very clearly, but the issue with some of these accounts where you're doing it yourself is they never asked you if you were eligible.
Right.
They didn't say, Sandy, what are you making? Oh, you're not deducting it. You can do it, but here's how you have to track it. So whoever's doing your taxes, maybe they're tracking it. But no one said anything to you.
No one said anything to me. So this in itself is worth us meeting. This is very valuable.
Okay, so what I would do is I would put that account and just say, like, we just have to figure out what's happening. But I personally wouldn't add any more money. We'll get into this. You're saving enough. What I would do from an admin standpoint, because as you start to grow your net worth, the administration on these accounts and making sure they're structured and the beneficiaries are right and you understand tax ramifications is as valuable, in my opinion. Yeah. So start that little account. Do not add, do not roll clearly delineated money where we know tax structure into that, because the description I've got, which I just think is a really great visual, is then when you try to figure it out, it is like taking milk out of coffee.
Okay, sounds messy and it's impossible.
Yeah, because let's just say, we'll just give you that you have 100,000 in there. We have to go back to see how far some of those contributions were, and then you have to say, well, it was 7,000 this year, but 5 years ago it was 5,000. So I have to get my basis for every year, which I went over the threshold. The thresholds change every year. The contribution amounts change every year. You can figure it out. You have to sit down and do it, and then you roll another 100,000 that's clear. So what are I just wouldn't do it.
Yep.
I like easy admin. I feel like finance is tricky enough, so let's make it simple. So separate out that account. I personally wouldn't add any more to it.
Okay.
I would figure out my basis. I would calculate it now while it's all fresh and you're young.
Right.
Keep notes on it because you don't want to pay taxes unnecessarily.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then I probably would just like leave it alone.
Okay. That sounds good to me. Great.
Okay. Great. So that's fun. Okay, good. So I'm glad we talked about that. Taxable brokerage, great, easy, tax-wise, long-term capital gains, ideally holding those positions.
Yes.
12 months, putting money in there. You could add to that. That's what you could take the money and add to that. Because you're basically using all of your workplace plan. You're going to get close to 72,000, and then you could put it in the brokerage account. That's what I would do.
Right. Okay. Sounds good.
And then you have your savings and emergency fund. You're putting 2,000. Groceries, 300 a month.
It's an estimate. I eat fairly cheaply when I eat at home, but then I also I'm guessing that's probably a little bit of an underestimate.
That's a little low, but if you're able to do that, that's great. Okay, daycare for your dog, 400. Coffee, I love that you have a coffee line item. 150. Clothing, 200. Personal items, dining out, 400. Gym, 240. Public transit, 125. Entertainment, 400. Streaming, other subscriptions, hair, nails. I like that. We'll add that all together. 275, like 3 something. Travel fund, great. I love that you're pre-allocating 500. Medical expenses. So your total variable expenses, including, which I love, the savings.
Yes.
which is in there, is you're spending about 13,500, which is inclusive of your 401k, your after tax, your HSA. We're going to line item that traditional IRA into your brokerage, round that up to 2,600. Savings, emergencies, everything. And so left over, you actually probably don't have 8,000 left over. Because the number you gave me was gross, because that left over is tax.
Right.
So, yeah, that's fine. And so that's why you said it was variable, right? Because if you have, if you go out to eat a little bit more, then you reduce the travel fund or one of the savings, but you're saving a large percentage of your income, which is fantastic.
Yes. Yes.
And that has allowed you to have very close to $1 million saved.
Yes. I really tried to ramp it up over the past few years. And I also want to call out that during the pandemic, I had been living in New York. I actually went to, I thought it was going to be for a few weeks to stay with family, and ended up staying back with my family for several years.
Oh,
And that
wow.
was really when I had just turned 30, and I was like, all right, let me get my financial house in order. Had never really paid much attention to anything like that. So that was when I opened an high yield savings account and just started getting everything together. And obviously, paying minimal rent at that time and not spending a lot of money otherwise really helped to accelerate the saving and investing.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you have $811,000 in investments.
Yes.
Fantastic. And almost 40,000 in an emergency fund.
Yes, I do. And I'm thinking that I used to hold a lot more cash, then I kind of went in the opposite direction. And now I'm maybe wanting to ramp up the cash savings again. I'm trying to figure out, obviously, especially with this large increase that I just got in my salary, how I can best set myself up for financial independence, say in the next 10, 15 years. I would like to keep living in New York for the foreseeable future. I don't know that I will retire here because that doesn't feel very aligned with financial independence for me. But in the meantime, I have the investments going, but I'm wondering if there's something else I should be considering. Should I potentially explore real estate and buying, a place where I could rent that out?
Okay, so I have pretty strong opinion. I don't have a lot of strong opinions if you listen to my podcast. I have strong opinions on real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And people can fight me on this, and some people have. It's not completely passive. It comes
Right.
off as passive. I think those people are really lucky, and I think they should feel lucky while it's passive. Um, or I just have the worst luck in the world. So what I would say as a single person, which is what I was for a very long time, probably up until I met my husband. And at that point, you couldn't be like, hi, nice to meet you. Can I start giving you admin tasks while you date me? So until we were like legally married, I wasn't like, you need to do these. And he helped, but like, he didn't own the property. So like, is it really, the person who has helped me the most with real estate is my father. He has definitely called me on a Saturday night when I was at a wedding being like, I'm in a rain jacket holding a towel over your pipe that is leaking. I hope you're having a great night.
Yes, I've listened to all of your episodes,
Yeah.
and just from my family and other people I know who own real estate, I know how much work is involved, and I'm hesitant to want to take on that admin or, pay a property manager or someone like that to, then be paying a mortgage and a property manager as well. I'm not sure that
Right. And you
that
have to,
makes
and the assumption that the property manager solves your problem is if you get a good one.
right.
If you get one who doesn't show up and then the person is calling you have to then fire the property manager and say why I hired you. And then you have to have contracts, right? Because you're outsourced. So you have contracts, and then it's like, well, this was in your contract. And so what I will say is if you said to me, one of my life goals or my goals is to own real estate in this beach town, like this is what I've always wanted. It's on my list. It's something that is important to me. Well, then, yes, that makes sense because it's aligned with what you're looking to do with your life. That makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. You should then pursue that. And there's a financial benefit. You'll buy a piece of real estate. Ideally, it appreciates, not guaranteed.
Right. Right.
No, it just depends on where you buy, what your interest rate are, and what your expenses are. You get a tenant who trashes your property, you have to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you can't get blood out of a stone. So yeah, you could sue them. I've sued people. That's not fun either.
Right.
And that's if it like so and it can go swimmingly. Like I had great tenants in my New York property. I'm still good friends with them. They were so good I never really raised the rent because they were just so nice and like it was so easy and they paid on time and they like looked after the property because I wasn't there all the time. And so I didn't make a lot of money on it, but it was easy. And that was more important to me, you know?
Hmm.
Because, yeah, I could have raised the rent and maybe they say we have to leave. And then I have tenant after tenant and problem after problem. So the advice I always got is you have good tenants, you leave them alone, right? But that doesn't mean they're the most profitable tenants.
Exactly. I know. I'm
So,
thinking through this and I'm like, if I'm being honest with myself, I love renting right now. I love not having to do maintenance and things like that myself. And so the idea of buying a property and then having to manage that and from far away, because it's not like this would be in the New York City area, right?
right, you'd be a long distance landlord.
It's that doesn't really actually appeal with
Yeah, you have
and
to think about it because
align.
it's like, I will tell you the times that things went wrong was when I was not in New York.
Of course.
And it just is a little more stressful. Like I was on vacation in Germany and I own the property, so it's not like call the landlord. And my secretary locked herself in the bathroom. She called me in Germany. I was in a bar. It was like 10 p.m. I don't know. She brought her cell phone into the bathroom, thank God, and was like, I'm locked in the bathroom. And I was like, it was Friday. I was like, I'm in a bar in Munich. Like, I don't, and I couldn't get in touch with my father. My father's my backup, and my father was not answering.
Oh
So
no.
I was like, you have to call the fire department. And all I'm thinking is the only way they get in is break down two doors. So now I have a real problem because I have tenants upstairs who now have no front door. And I have a liability issue because I'm running a business out of the other door. And you can't just not have. So do I hire a security company? Because you can't just leave your property completely open.
Right.
And I'm literally in a bar. And I will tell you, I did not enjoy the bar, right? Like I'm outside. Everybody else is having drinks in the bar in Munich. And I'm outside trying to figure out what I'm going to do when my doors get broken down to get her out of the bathroom. Because you can't leave her in the bathroom.
Right. Yeah, that's a
This is the
nightmare.
stuff that's like not talked about. Everyone's like, it's passive. You just take the rent. And it's like, great. Yeah, that might happen for the first 5 years if you buy a brand new property and you get super lucky. That might happen and that'll be great. But if you're going to do this long term, there are problems and it is a business. To succeed in it, to succeed in anything, right, where you're going to make money, you have to be good at it. That's my
Right.
opinion. So I did not have a good time in Munich. The fire department apparently has a very skinny man that was able to get through the window.
Thank goodness.
Because, yeah, and then I was just like, thank God, because otherwise, like, I don't know what you do, right? Like, do you hire a security company to guard the property that's wide open if they broke down the doors? I don't know. But these are things
Right.
like I didn't want to deal with on vacation in Munich. Like I wanted to,
Absolutely.
and I think it was like 29 or 31. It was just like, why everybody else is having a good time. They're all renters. And I'm out here trying to figure out how many doors were getting damaged in my property. And then who do you hire to put in new doors? I had no idea. So anyway,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think if it's like on your list of things you really want and it aligns with what you really want, like I want to use this property for my vacations. That's the only place I want to go. Every vacation, I want to go to this beach house that I'm going to own. And I'm okay with the admin that it's going to take to own it, right? Then that aligns with what you want. Then that would make sense. But I wouldn't do it just to do it.
Okay. Okay. And that's where I am. It's not really aligned with,
Okay.
Goals. I think I'm just like, it might be a situation where I'm looking for something else to like add into the mix of like how can I propel myself, towards this goal of financial independence. But I think it's just a matter of doing what I've been doing and like staying on that path.
So where it becomes an issue with real estate is where people get priced out, where they should have bought when it was in their budget and didn't, but never saved enough to not be priced out of rent. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's where it's problematic with what you're saving, right? the amount you're saving and you have very low rent relative to such a high cost of living and relative to such a high income, and the amount that you're saving, you're not getting priced out.
Right. Okay.
You could decide and say, all the money in the brokerage is going to me buying a place, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
would not be a problem. So, what you want to continue to provide yourself with is optionality.
Okay. That's
And
really
then
helpful.
when it makes sense, not to say you don't buy, but you don't have to buy at 35. You could buy at 40. I actually have one person that I know that will rent their entire working career and only buy in retirement because they're relocating to a really low cost of living and have saved plenty of money. They could probably
Okay.
buy in cash and they're just going to do it in retirement. I don't know if it'll actually feel as good as they think it will because having rented for such a long time, it is so nice just to say, I'm flying away for the weekend. I got a great deal.
Right.
If the washing machine breaks, like I just call and then someone brings me a new one. I don't have to be there, right? So there's a lot of different things. I think the key is being in a good financial position, which you are. You have no debt. You're saving a boatload. You're basically a millionaire at 35. So you have optionality. And that's where the real risk comes in, where people have problems where it's like, well, they're getting priced out of rent and they can't afford to buy. That's a problem. That's not your situation.
Okay.
And it
Okay.
won't be.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I think that makes sense. And chances are high that I will relocate elsewhere for retirement whenever, that is. But again, I don't, it'll be nice to have the option to buy if I want to, but even
Mm-hmm.
then I don't know that I need to own. So,
Yeah. And you can decide. So what I would say is like, you're in a great position. You have really low rent, right? You're saving a lot. And it from an admin standpoint, it's easy,
right. Okay.
right? Like your investment account doesn't call you up and say the water heater is broken,
Exactly.
right? And you don't have to worry very much about the dips because you're adding so much. You're just buying everything on sale. You don't need any of the money at the moment. And I would say keep it simple. Just keep
Okay.
saving a lot. And then as your life changes, because it will over the next 10, 15 years, and as your goals change, then you just realign your finances to address what your goals are.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But
Yeah.
I don't think you're missing out on real estate.
Okay. No, thank you. I needed that reminder because it does feel like there's always this pressure and messaging around
Yeah.
real estate. And I think if I'm being honest with myself, it's like not really something that I feel compelled to do. So,
Yeah, you'd have to want to do it and you have to want to be involved because I really don't think it works if you're not involved.
right.
Like my having hired lots of companies, like lots of plumbers, lots of electricians, like having had multiple contracts and dealing with a lot of different people, it's not as easy as everyone says.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it has to really be something you really want for yourself. And if it's not high up there, I wouldn't do it.
Okay. Okay.
'Cause
Yeah.
it's not going to make or break your finances. So
Right.
my house in Salt Lake City, I did well. So that appreciated like over 5 years, like $300,000.
Nice.
Right. My investment account made a lot more.
True. True. Exactly.
It
That's a
did.
trade-off. Yeah.
So it's a trade off. I'm happy with my purchase. The reason I bought was because when I looked at the rent and I looked at the home prices with the mortgage, it was more economical to purchase a house. It was cheaper than
Wow.
to rent. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That is, as you know, not the case in New York City.
It's not the case where you are. So, because my dad's like, you can't own another property. This has not been going well. And I was like, yes, but financially, the numbers make more. I'll have less overhead because I bought it with the rental property in it. So it's like not two family, but split. And so the
Okay.
numbers it was cheaper by like $1,000 a month to own.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All
So
right.
that's why I did it, even though I knew it was going to be like a little bit more of a headache. Financially, it looked better because then you factor in maintenance. So I was like, even with maintenance, it's even, and then I'm owning versus an apartment where it's more expensive and only going to get more expensive as the area gets popular. So that's where where you would say it makes sense. But right now, you're high cost of living, you're not paying a high cost relative.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, and your investment accounts will potentially earn more than the appreciation, especially if you're buying out of state. Like it's not going to like your account's around $1 million. If there was a 20% year, which is the year we had last year, not to be used as an average at all. But
Mm-hmm.
last year, if you looked at your accounts, they probably grew by around 20%, 15 to 20%.
Right.
That's about 200,000.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild.
That's wild. That's a lot of appreciation for zero work.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
So what are the other goals? It sounds like are there other things like on the to-do list?
I think, well, I was expecting to ask this question separately around the 401k rollover, but we got there with the IRA discussion. So I guess with the old 401ks that I have, which are probably like maybe 165 from previous employers, I can roll them over, of course, into my current 401k at
Yep.
work. But is there anything else that I should consider now that we've ruled out rolling into the IRA? Like, is there something, if I just wait and leave it down the line, that I could do that would be more optimal?
So what I would say is that so there's three technical options, which you will not hear from influencers because they have no rules. So I think one of them says it's like an old sweatshirt. You shouldn't leave it at your boyfriend's. Technically, you can't say that. So your three choices are you can leave it in your with your former company. That is a legitimate choice. You can move it to the respective account. So we'll just say traditional IRA, excluding the one you have for reasons we previously discussed. Or if your current workplace plan allows it, you can move them all into your current employer provider.
Okay.
Right. So what I would say it comes down to is what I would look at if I were in your shoes is the available investment options. Some 401k providers have a lot of options and some don't. The other thing I would look out for is hidden fees. So
Mm.
I'm just gonna hopefully I don't get sued on this one, but my husband's provider I think was using financial engines, and I was like, "Why are you paying 1%? Why are you paying 1%?" He's like, "I'm not paying 1%." I was like, "Yeah, you are." He was like, "I didn't agree to that." And I was like, "Yeah, you married a CFP. Why would you pay someone else 1%? I could do it for you for free. Benefit of being married." Getting out of that 1% fee, which he didn't know he agreed on, it was like a button or something when you were like, yeah, it was very nondescript. He wasn't aware he enrolled in it. Unenrolling in it was the most difficult thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we were on the phone for a long time, and I was like, you have to unenroll him in this. This is he did not consent. Like you have like we're done with questions, on enroll. So you want to make sure you're not like enrolled in some sort of advice service that you're not aware of.
Okay.
For that's like a big trap I see with 401ks. They're like, oh, we picked your model. It's like, for one, you don't need a robot for 1%. If you're
Right.
paying 1% and you're getting something, like I'm not opposed to you paying 1% and getting advice on like deductibilities of IRAs and aggregation, right? And like how to plan for your goals. Like that's okay. I have no issue with that. But I have an issue with a robot picking a random portfolio of 5. Like that's not hard for 1%. So you want to look at the fees, right?
Okay.
And not to say that free is better, but you just want to know what are you paying and what are you getting, and then what are the list of available options. And then what I would say from an admin standpoint, because I think as you grow your net worth, admin is going to be important, is would it behoove you, and this is personal decision, to have less accounts so that you know what your investments are and you know who your beneficiaries are?
Okay. Yes, that's what I tend to do and like want is as little admin as possible. So, okay,
So
I
then
think that'll be good to get
So
them
then your choice would
consolidated.
be, do you want to just have one not new IRA that you roll things into? Or do you want to just leave everything with your current workplace plan because you have a very sophisticated plan, you're happy with the plan, you have good investments, and they allow it. You have to check with them. And then
Okay.
you basically just have everything in one account.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I think the other area, which is a little bit of I don't know, maybe I feel like I don't have enough knowledge, is and this also might not be something we can discuss, but is where like the actual funds that my like 401k is in. And I guess just like as a general, I would say like I've just put them in the target date funds. So I'm not sure if,
I'm not
again,
opposed to the target date funds. You want to
okay,
go and look and see what their performance is. And as long as they're in line with the average performance, no issue there. And I am always a big believer in name brands.
okay.
They have really long, so the really old standing mutual fund companies have been around 90 years.
Oh, wow.
It's a long time. They
That
have
is.
wonderful experience.
Okay,
They've
that's
done investing in all types of markets, in all scenarios, including world wars. So I always like name brands, and I'm not opposed to the target date funds at all. You just want to make sure it's like a name brand target date, so a name that you know, and that the performance looks good. Doesn't have to be, when it comes, I think, to long-term investing and long-term net worth building, it doesn't have to be the top performer. It just needs to have a good average.
right.
It just needs to be good long term. It doesn't have to be the winner every year. It's statistically unlikely. And you do want those older proven funds, even if they're a little bit more expensive. There is something to be said about having that vast experience investing in all markets, because everybody can make money in an up market. Super easy. It's how do they do in a down market, because we're due for, in my opinion, another big down year. We haven't had a massive down year. We've had abbreviated market corrections, in my opinion, last year in 2020, but we
Mhm.
haven't had a sustained one like what I worked through in 2007,
Right. Okay.
where it really, I mean, that was very painful. And do you want to see how the historical performance is? How is it keeping in line with current performance? And I would say you want the name brands. And I'm not a believer that it has to be the cheapest investment.
Okay.
But you don't want to pay for something you're not getting. Like I wouldn't pay 1% for something, you're not getting. But it doesn't have to be the cheapest either. So I did think you just have to look at the history of the investment you're in and see how they performed. And I would see how they performed in 2007, 2008, and how did they recover.
Okay. That's really helpful. I will definitely look into that performance, but, and I appreciate that as well, because I know, again, like I think there's always this like temptation to optimize as much as you can. But at the same time, I don't really want to be constantly looking, constantly researching different fund options. So it sounds like the target date funds are like pretty aligned with my style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is, what I will say, and you hear this on other podcasts, like the people that are doing the day trading usually are just losing money because they're
Right.
looking to optimize and try and make money fast. There are people that are talented and that do a great job, but like there are also people that are professional athletes too. That's statistically unlikely that you're going to be a cheater. It is, and if you're so good at day trading, that's probably why. Like you probably should do it as you're living.
hmm
So I really believe the best way to grow net worth long term is to have good sound investments, not the cheapest investment, not the most expensive, but good track record, right? That have good performance in good years and then kind of help mitigate some of the losses on the down year. And maybe they don't go down quite as far. Maybe everyone else goes down 40, they go down 35, but then they recover the next year. Because if you go down 35, you need to come back 70 the next year to be even. Not make
Right.
money, to be even. So how did they do after that? Did they get you even in 1 year? Did they get you even in 2 years?
Okay.
And that's why I like the proven companies. I like the companies that have been around longer because they have that experience of having a market where it goes down 30% or 40%, right? And then how do you get back?
Okay. That's so helpful. I really appreciate that perspective on it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's building long-term wealth is not exciting.
Yes, that's what
It
I'm
just takes
realizing.
time and boring, but it works.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, because like if we were just to fast forward, like by the time you're 40, which is in 5 years, I do think 35 to 40 goes quick. At least it did for me personally. For what you're saving like $100,000 a year. So that's another $500,000, and your account should grow by, it'll probably grow around 400. That's another million. So you could have like close to $2 million by the time you're 40.
Oh my gosh.
If you keep
That's,
doing all of this, yeah. I mean, because I
yeah.
mean, you're saving a tremendous amount.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's really, but and that's why I would keep it simple. Like you're doing the hard work by living well below your means and allocating so much to savings, like I wouldn't muddy the waters with giving yourself another job. Like you're doing great with this job and you're saving a ton and you're going to be in a phenomenal position at 40, which is very young. And you're going to have a lot of optionality because of your net worth. And so I would like enjoy the simplicity of this is what I would do.
Okay. Thank you so much, Barbara.
Yeah. So that's all I have for you. Any other questions?
I don't think so. Thank you
Okay,
again
perfect.
for all of the advice. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. And for all of our lovely listeners, the best compliment is to share the show with a friend. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can write in at www.futurerichpodcast.com. Time for our disclaimer. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance references are historical and do not guarantee future results. Make sure that you consult with your own legal, tax, and/or financial advisor before making any decisions.